I start out with cutting a base out of foam core. I like to use foam core board for mold making because the slick surface is waterproof and is easy to use with silicone. I also use a hot glue gun to seal the edges and cracks of the foam core and model. This helps control where the silicone goes when poured. When making the foam core case around the model, I cut geometric shapes with the material to limit the amount of empty space between the model and the foam core. This helps to cut down on the amount of silicone that needs to be mixed and used. Because this model of La Pieta has intricate details and form, the foam core needs to be manipulated to cut down on the empty space. Otherwise, you run the risk of wasting silicone when pouring. I leave 2 openings at the top of this foam core case to make it easier to pour the silicone. The silicone I'm using consists of 2 parts that need to be measured by weight. The ratio is for every 100 grams of silicone used, you mix 2 grams of the setting agent. Because of the containers I'm using, I mix 1,000 grams of silicone at a time, so I first measure 20 grams of the setting agent. I mix these 2 parts together quickly because I also put the mixed silicone in a vacuum chamber for about 2 minutes. I use a vacuum chamber because it degasses the silicone. This helps to get air bubbles out of the silicone for a clean mold when it's poured. This can also be used with epoxy resins. When pouring silicone to create a mold, it's best if it's slowly poured in one place. The silicone will slowly seep around the details of the model. Pouring slowly will also help prevent air becoming trapped, which forms air bubbles. I ended up cutting off the top of my foam core case to help me see how the silicone is pouring. Before I finish the rest of the mold, I re-glue the top back on first. For this sculpture, I ended up mixing and pouring around 3,500 grams of silicone. I poke a few bubbles that form at the top of the mold with an X-Acto knife and let the silicone set up for about 6 to 8 hours. After setup, I remove the foam core and use an X-Acto knife to carefully slice the mold on 3 different sides. This allows me to pull the mold off the model while keeping the top of it intact. After completely removing the model from the mold, I piece it back together and apply clear box tape around the outside. This helps to keep the mold together and to temporarily seal the cracks. I mix the plaster by adding a little water at a time to the powder while mixing with my hand. I continue to do this until the consistency of the plaster completely covers my hand, making sure it's not too thick or too thin. After the plaster is mixed, I use a small cup to slowly pour plaster into the intricate details of the mold. I shake it to make sure no air bubbles form. After the intricate details are filled, I then pour in the rest of the plaster and let it set up for 4 to 5 hours. When I remove the mold from the plaster cast, I do so slowly, making sure that the delicate parts of the sculpture do not break off. I ended up cutting the mold into separate pieces, which can be pieced together later again to create another cast. The left arm broke while removing the mold, but I was able to reattach it. I will create another video later to show how to attach broken pieces of plaster together.